National Insurance Clearinghouse, the marketing arm of Brokers Alliance, presents a Bravo video event, the Business Insurance Zone, dedicated to financial professionals who use insurance in their practice.
And with Steve as special guest from Maddock Douglas, an agency of innovation services, Maria Umbach.
And now the host of the Business Insurance Zone, the whiz of the biz, insurance columnist Steve Savant.
Well, welcome everyone to the Business Insurance Zone. We're broadcasting live to a nationwide audience of financial professionals here at Fountain Hills, Arizona, home of America's largest fountain. And all this week, on our last day, we're kind of getting sad about this, we've had Maria Umbach from Maddock Douglas. Hey, I got to say, I think I'm going revolution here. I thought when we had this show starting Monday that this would be an evolutionary process. We'd be just adding a little adjunct to our practice, making it tweak. We're talking about major league overhaul here. We're talking about a course direction on a, I don't even know if the young man here in my 60s can play that game anymore. I mean, I'm talking about revolution. Maria, when I'm looking at what we're talking about today, and I've read some of your articles, and this is a hot one because this was actually in, I think it was Life Insurance Selling in
September.
I want to get into this thing called Social Currency, the movie, which I do want to produce with you, right?
Awesome.
I think I can see it now. Social Currency, the movie, right?
Yeah.
I got the soundtrack all figured out. We'll just have to figure out the plot. Talk to me a little bit about this, because this to me is a huge concept.
Yeah, so Social Currency, the movie. This is, imagine for a moment. Now, okay, little disclaimer here. You know, I'm supposed to push the envelope, right? So I'm going to say something that some people are going to go, she's crazy.
Now, push or pull the envelope? Because all this week you've been telling me,
I know, all right.
Stop pushing,
Touché.
Start pulling.
You got it, you got it. All right.
Hey,
so
I'm learning.
My job is to make people a little uncomfortable. So if something sounds like far-fetched, crazy, it'll never happen, good, I've done my job. So that's my little compliance disclaimer there.
So you are trying to make people uncomfortable?
I am.
Well, no problem. 2 shows back, you made people uncomfortable.
Okay.
All right, go ahead.
So imagine for a minute that Facebook and PayPal got married and had a baby.
Okay, so we'll talk about corporate courtship on a totally different level.
Yes, this is called.
Okay, they get married. PayPal and Facebook.
PayPal and Facebook get married and have a baby, and they call the baby SafeBook. Friends protecting friends. Okay, so think about this for a minute.
Did you invent this?
Yes.
SafeBook, friends protecting friends?
Friends protecting friends. So we know that there is a very large and growing underinsured population in the middle market, right? And that includes life insurance, includes other kinds of insurance too. And what do people do now when a crisis hits and somebody doesn't have insurance, right? They do the thing that they used to do in the 1700s before insurance was invented, called pass the hat. They basically figure out how to help these folks so that they don't, become a burden on society and all that. So today, if a crisis hits in a place where there's not a lot of help, people text money, right? Text 999, whatever. It goes to the Red Cross for hurricane relief or tsunami relief or earthquakes, whatever. So who is an expert at raising large pools of money and disseminating large pools of money? So obviously you have the telecom companies that can do that, and PayPal is also a very big expert in that area. Who is an expert in being able to notify people in certain communities that this crisis has hit? Social media, Facebook. So now let's say there's this large group of uninsured people who in today's world would have to sort of pass the hat or pass the phone, as it were, in order to get relief after a disaster has struck. Now, if they were able to somehow do that in advance versus after the fact, which is basically how insurance was invented, and use the social media plus PayPal to create the pools and notify people of crisis, or to collect in advance using PayPal and notify they could literally recreate insurance pools and insurance products. The prosumer could hack into and do that without the insurance company or without the insurance broker. Okay, so if that were to happen, we would have a completely new revolution in insurance. That is what we call the new Mutuality 2.0. I mean, I've been doing a lot of thinking about this and a lot of writing about it. And in this article and in my blog, I talk about it quite a bit. You know, we have this argument all the time with ourselves in the industry about mutual versus stock companies, right? And mutuality has become synonymous with a corporate form that just doesn't include a stockholder. And that's the way everybody describes a mutual company. And the reality is that mutual with a small m is about collective. It's about the effects of one's behavior on another and this pooling, which is the social currency we talked about earlier, right? And I think we've missed the point. We've missed the point in the industry about that the whole way that insurance works is when everyone participates. And Gen Y in particular is very big on doing things for social causes, doing things for charity and giving back, doing things that are for the collective good. If they understood insurance for how it works, really what fuels it, there would be a lot more appreciation for the current system. And in absence of that understanding, they're going to go out there as prosumers and want to reinvent it themselves. And they could create this. Maybe it's not Facebook, maybe it's not PayPal, but there are mechanisms out there where those kinds of insurance pools could be created. And if Mark Zuckerberg put his mind to it, because, you know, I think he turned 26 this year, so he's probably off of his parents' health insurance policy. He's probably thinking about insurance a little bit more. He could do it, right? Right?
I think I'd like to talk to him about life insurance, but now I'm too afraid of how I would say it.
Right. Well, but the point being is that these constructs exist. Now, there'll be a lot of people that will throw darts and stones at me for what I'm saying, because they'll say, oh, with state regulation, that'll never happen, or with complexity of insurance products and the numbers won't work, and all of those kinds of things that could never happen. But you know what? There are a lot of industries that blinked, that thought something, fill in the blank, could never happen. And then one morning they woke up and the whole game had changed. So my job and our job at Maddock Douglas is to push or pull, as you say, the thinking of individuals so that they can imagine a world that doesn't exist yet, so that they can avoid what we call that Napster moment.
Well, I'm thinking, when I really think about a whole new world revolution where people would actually create these, sounds so socialistic to me. I don't know.
Well, yeah.
But these poolings, these communities, right? Where you're trying to cover off risk using many people, multiple people, right? Such large numbers that you can manage the risk, and we've already invented that. And the question I always think about when I hear about new revolution is our way of doing it, is it efficient? But let's say I could be efficient. If I couldn't communicate how efficient it was, somebody still might want to reinvent it themselves.
Right. So the part of that is the communication. People, you're absolutely right. There's not enough of that communication going on where people actually understand how it works. In fact, they're repelling it because they're looking for a one-to-one relationship with their insurance, which doesn't. That's ridiculous. That's self-insurance. It doesn't. The math doesn't work like that. It works like this, unless of course people are into self-insuring, and if that, I'm not going to judge that. But the what makes insurance tick is the pooling. And it's ironic because there's other industries now that are getting wise to collaborative consumption. This is the idea that I don't need to own this whole microphone, I just need to own part of it because I don't use it every minute of the day. So maybe I share it with somebody else who needs that microphone at different times, or something like a zip car, for example, where you don't need to own a car. You might live in a city where you only need a car sometimes, so you get the zip car, you just use it when you need it, it saves gas efficiency and all that. That's what collaborative consumption is. The insurance industry invented collaborative consumption in the 16 and 1700s. We own it.
We are ancient of days.
We are such sages. It's not even funny.
I feel the pain of being a tri-centurion.
Oh, there you go.
But you know, I'm trying to think about how. When I'm thinking back to your original thing, which I kind of think is safe book, friends protecting friends, coming into a community of understanding that we've already actually invented this, as you said.
We did.
And our labels are too stiff to get through the door. I just came back from a home office. I was out on the East Coast. You're looking at marble, you're looking at, it looks like an idol temple, a temple for idols or something. It's just, I can't even relate to it. Wealth on a staggering amount, being actually displayed in the facade of the building rather than my account.
Right.
Well, a little side of it there.
Right.
And then I wonder why, it's like, I'm waiting for people to go, from Occupy Wall Street to Occupy my insurance carrier.
All right. Those days are not far away.
Right. So I want to know, in my view I'm a marketer, I'm a seller, right? I've been transaction all my life. You're asking me to go relational. I feel like I'm on a marriage counseling session, right?
It's not easy.
It's not easy. And I think for people who are listening, we hear this, we say, I'm getting what you're saying. I don't know how to make the leap from what you just said to practical every day. How do I do that? How do I make that leap?
Well, it's a difficult. I'm not saying that somebody should go out there and try to invent this. Although if they did, hey, that's a legitimate path to go down. I'm sure. The point is to become more about why in your business versus what. Okay, and there's a great book by a good friend of the firm, Simon Sinek, called Start With Why. I think a lot of folks in the insurance industry are starting to see more of his work out there. Is when you can get in touch with the why of your business and why you're out there, and then allow more consumers to see, or prosumers as it were, to see what makes insurance tick, what makes it work, help them hack into the product differently than we do it today. Because today the way we do it is we compare prices to other competitors or to other companies that have the same product and say this one's better than that one. Or we say this type of life insurance is better than that type of life insurance. Or we say that this type of investment is better than that type of investment. That's not the point. Let's let them see the inner workings of it and allow them to hack.
When you say that though, like for example, I really like to go out shopping for a new car every so often, every 3 years or whatever it is.
Yeah.
And when I go there, I never say to the guy, pop the hood and explain combustion to me. I don't think in those terms. Show me the inner workings of the cylinders. How does the oil work? I mean, I don't see myself doing that.
Right.
It turns on, I buy the warranty so I don't have to worry about those issues.
Yeah.
Isn't that that sounds kind of antithetical to what you just said?
Well, it could. There in the situation where you're talking about a car, which is like a thing that people can touch, feel, they want to drive it. They're not repelling that particular product. They want that product. I think it's a little bit different. And in the world of insurance, there is so much angst, and it's not just life insurance. Life insurance is not the highest on the list of pain. Health insurance is. Health insurance. People are angry at health insurance, right? So when they are angry at it, they're going to look for alternatives. And when they're looking for alternatives, that's when you have to open the hood and let them see how it works so that they can compare. Right now, they cannot. They can't compare this to self-insurance. They don't know how.
Well, I'm glad to hear that health insurance has now superseded life insurance as the #1 hate group by consumers.
Yeah.
I mean, that blows my mind. Well, listen, when we come back, we'll talk about all this. You're listening to the Business Insurance Zone, the show that focuses on insurance in your practice. You can email me at my email address, thebiz@brokersalliance.com, or call me toll-free, 1-800-290-7226, extension 147. When we come back, we're going to be talking about the Napster moment. Opportunity, or I love this, Armageddon.
Banner Life Insurance Company and its subsidiary, William Penn Life Insurance Company of New York, comprise the Legal and General America companies, part of the International Legal and General Group, one of the largest insurance companies in the world. Now, Legal and General America is one of the top-rated insurance companies in America, with one of the strongest financial balance sheet among its peers. Legal and General America is a major player in guaranteed term and guaranteed universal life, and consistently ranks among the best carriers in almost every product spreadsheet. Legal and General America's product line of guaranteed universal life endows at the maturity date, while most carriers' cash values just zero out. You know the reputation of Banner? Now know the value of LGA, Legal and General America. The power to protect, the power to preserve, the power to serve their policyholders. That's Legal and General America.
Well, welcome back to the Business Insurance Zone. I'm Steve Savant, your host, financial color commentator, insurance columnist, and interviewer extraordinaire. And remember, before moving forward with anything on our show, especially our tax strategies and everything else, always talk with your CPA, attorney, and of course your broker-dealer compliance department. You can dial up toll free. Call me 1-800-290-7226, extension 147 for any of your questions or quotes on life insurance, annuities, DI, LTC, and group pension plans. Hey, it's not what I know, it's who I know. And that's why Maria's on our show. The last segment of the last day of our show, we are weeping on the departure issues. Yes, already. We're talking about having a Napster moment. I mean, I've had a senior moment, right? I've had a revelatory moment. I've had a religious moment. Now I'm having a Napster moment. Wow. And I love the line, opportunity or Armageddon. Now, I'm so sorry. I don't even know how we're gonna talk about this segment, but I remember back in the day at 2000.
Oh, yeah.
Y2K. It's either going to be nothing, just a bump in the road, or it's going to be Armageddon.
End of the world as we know it.
Right.
Exactly.
And by the way, just remember, the Mayan calendar, according to the guys, next year is the end game of the end games. Basically, the worst parts of the Bible. So, Napster moment, opportunity. What do you mean by that, or Armageddon?
Or Armageddon. Okay, so the Napster moment might be intuitive, but I'll just explain what it is. This is something we talk about all the time in the world of innovation, is when an industry is completely reinvented by somebody else who is a brand new entrant, and they just completely reinvent the game. So I'll give you a few examples of that. Napster cleared the decks for Apple to own the record industry. Okay, so Napster didn't do the greatest job of creating their own revenue stream, but what they did was something that was very revolutionary, and it made way for Apple. Netflix, PetMeds, LegalZoom, iTunes, all of these companies have this same thing in common. They were babies who now own big industries practically overnight. That's the Napster moment, okay? And the life insurance industry could be facing its Napster moment. And we've been talking about this for a long time. It could be, I don't know, tomorrow. It could be 5 years from now. It could be 10 years from now. Or it could be
the beginning on this show between you and me.
It could be. You never know. But the signs and signals are there. Industries that are facing their Napster moment have these kinds of characteristics. You see commoditization. You see fewer traditional entrants coming into the business. You see a shift of power in the distribution system. You see consolidation, you see a flight to the high end. You see all these things do these sound familiar? Right? The list goes on and on. So why is it easier for outsiders to reinvent an industry than for insiders to do that? Any thoughts on that?
Well, I would say, and this is a little bit kind of it reminds me of my first foray into this business. My major was not business. It was not mathematics. It wasn't certainly not insurance. I don't even know if people teach this.
Right.
I came out of a completely different industry, came into this, and my way of expressing the industry in my early days seemed to be way off the beating path. A kind of a collage of MBA language and Chicago street kid hip language kind of melding together and making the expression enjoyable, entertaining, and yet actually coming to sell something and doing it quite well. My thought when I hear about I'm thinking about revolutionizing our own. I don't know, does that mean revolution? I have to go Genesis 1:1, clear the deck, start all over? Is it the Noah experience? I'll preserve this, but everything else has to go.
Right.
I'm trying to figure out how far do you want me to take this?
Right.
And when I hear babies who are not babies anymore, Netflix, huge, iTunes, huge, Apple,
they were babies,
huge.
quotes, right.
I mean, to me, that's shocking. And to think that our industry could go through that kind of unbelievable turmoil and maybe moving from that to this is a whole new way to play. I mean, I noticed that brand new carriers that are into the game don't have the old home office expense load mentality. I mean, they are pivoting. They're nimble in the market.
Right.
They can move on a dime on certain arenas, and they're not really held back by their parent company.
Right. Exactly. So that's all of those things that keep one in the jar, as we talked about earlier, are part of the issue. But the characteristics of leaders in those organizations that get Napstered are like basically three things. Cynicism, saying, oh no, something like that'll never happen, that'll never work. Sidelining, which is like, well, let's just hold out and see what happens. That was basically what the travel industry said about entities like Travelocity. And then it was like sticking to what used to work. Well, we know that putting feet out on the street and doing whatever is the thing that is going to cause this industry to turn around. Let's go back and get back to basics. Let's buckle down and let's do what used to work. Those three things. And by the way, the record industry was quoted as saying before Napster came around, is saying, you know what, we just need bigger hits. We just need bigger hits. And now more music is being sold today than it ever was. It's just not being sold the same way.
I mean, think about the Beatles 40, 50 years ago, and they're being replayed on iTunes. A whole new generation is discovering it. My grandkids are telling me they love these guys. What? You know, I'm so surprised.
Right. They're just finding out that Paul McCartney was in a group before Wings, right?
I heard that. Yeah.
But you're right. That's the point. It's like it's reinventing. So the segment that we had before about SafeBook, as one idea. There could be a gazillion ideas. This was one that we invented just to give an example of how something could happen so that somebody doesn't later say, well, who moved my cheese? How the heck did that happen? We have to help the industry paint a picture of what the future could look like that doesn't exist yet.
Well, I'm into just the imagination game right now. You know, let's just imagine every scenario, because I don't know how to do it, so I'm going to shotgun everything I can think of and throw it out there on this big canvas of the future and see what actually comes to the surface.
Right.
What does that look like? I'm trying to say, after hearing this whole week we've had you on, I'm trying to think, well, I need to appeal to Xers and Yers that don't want to use my language. I've been talking down to them all, as you said.
Right.
I've been pushing my stuff when I should have been pulling them towards me.
Creating mistrust,
Right.
and creating bias.
I'm just trying to see how to do this. And now I want our industry, are we going to go through a Napster moment, and are we going to be left behind?
Right.
That's the scary part. That's the scary part.
But the thing is that there is an answer. It's not a snap your fingers answer. But innovation is what we do, and innovation is a process of creating what's new, what's next in an industry or in a company. Okay, and the thing that we have to be very careful about is to make sure we're not talking and thinking from inside the jar. Because as we said before, you can't read your own label when you're sitting inside the jar, so it requires outsiders to help us think about that problem.
Do carriers, are they willing to invite people in now from the outside?
Our clients are, absolutely. They don't get involved with us unless they're willing to do that.
Did they have to go through a little shock and awe conversion, though, first?
A little bit. But the ones that are like-minded, that are thinking the right way, they just need to see, and understand how it works, and then they're very much bought in. It's real easy for us to determine who is going to work with, who we work with and who we don't, because the ones that really are the right wiring raise their hands and they start talking. The ones that are not, they just walk away and they don't listen.
Well, let's say I don't have the right wiring, but I want it.
Right.
How do I go through, pull my entire panel out of my system and rewire this whole place?
Right. Well, that's part of where outside experts come in. It's part of the secret sauce. I mean, there's a whole process to it as well. And if you go out to the website, you'll also see a few books that are available at maddockdouglas.com and on my blog, which is soldnotbought.com. 2 books, one called Brand New and one called Free the Idea Monkey. And Brand New is all about the process. It's all about those who are very process oriented, who want to see how innovation works. And Free the Idea Monkey is really about the people. It's about the people that you work with and what kinds of complexions they have in order to drive innovation forward. And both are equally accessible and valuable in terms of that process and understanding that. Otherwise, and the process, takes time. It takes some time, and it takes some energy, and it takes mostly the right culture and the right wiring. It's not about your brains. It's not about your heart. It's about the stomach.
Well, let's say most of the producers that we have, their summer is their downtime.
Right.
Can I reinvent and ramp myself up by the fall? If I want to commit to changing, can I do that? Is that time just too dang short?
I would say that it's probably a shift that's going to take a little bit longer than that, although there are some immediate things that can be done that could create results in the short term, more low-hanging fruit type of results.
And you have that on your site.
Yeah.
Okay,
And we also run boot camps. We're doing another one in January that that are accessible to all if people are interested in that.
And they can find that on your site, www.soldnotbought.com. I hope I can go.
You can.
I need to go, right?
You can, yeah.
Can an old dog learn new tricks? I don't know.
Well, it depends on how that old dog views themselves.
I view myself as wanting to be relevant.
Right.
I think that's talk about a motivator.
Right.
I think everybody listening to this, I don't want to die a man of irrelevancy.
Then
I think that's a huge motivator.
It is.
And if we want to play in the next decade big, we need to really rethink the way we play.
That's
and the
true.
way, especially after you said, the way we talk.
One of the big keys there that I'll just share with you is, your relationship with failure. Okay, so companies, individuals, entities that want to stay relevant in the future have to be okay with trying new things and having them not work. And as long as they're learning from that and failing forward, it's not about failing stupid, it's about failing forward. And that's a big thing, because to answer your question about all dogs and new tricks, if that old dog is willing to face that and learn from those failures, they can learn new tricks.
Well, I just want to encourage all of us, again, all this week, if you missed any of the shows, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and today, Friday, go out to our website, brokersalliance.com. Go ahead and get to our homepage. You'll see a big red archive button. Click on it. It'll put you right into our on-demand video section. Of course, we're all out on video, Vimeo, and YouTube if you want to check it out there. I want you to watch these shows. This is the time when you want to park yourself in front of the television and say, I'm willing to change. Whatever it takes, it's going to get. This is a person inside. This isn't like going to some motivator outside. This is a person that's been in our industry for a long time. Maria is highly respected. She's one of my heroes of creativity. You think I'm creative. This is nothing. I love her blogging, her article writing. Her thinking is great. Becoming a thought leader. Wow, that was new to me. That's a whole new tributary of thinking in my book. So I want to encourage all of us, go out to her website, www.soldnotbought.com, and watch what's happening in our industry. Maria, thank you so much for being on our show all this week.
It's been a pleasure.
Listen, you're going to watch this show and all her shows on HD 1080p out on our on-demand video section located on our homepage at www.brokersalliance.com, and of course on all our social networks, YouTube, Vimeo, Facebook, LinkedIn, and Twitter. I'm Steve Savant. You've been listening to the Business Insurance Zone. That's the buzz on the biz for the week. Get into the zone, the Business Insurance Zone.
The Business Insurance Zone, dedicated to financial professionals who use insurance in their practice.